Well, I didn't know you were starting or we were mic checking.
I don't know.
I had a hot tea in my mouth too.
Yeah, you did. That's why I paused and waited. This is the Bowls of Life podcast. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Virginia. As we've gone through life, we've learned something important.
Life is messy. It gets complicated.
But we've also learned that we can create tools to help us jump into the mess of life and make an adventure of it.
Welcome to our messy adventures in faith, family, and food. Love it. So I'm thinking about leaving that silence right on the top for a split second. But here's the catch. People who are using the best podcasting app out there, Overcast, they won't even have to listen to the silence because it just speed boosts through that. It's gold. I've even noticed it in the intro moments with I did a really elongated pause in the last episode, and it was almost not there at all.
Yeah.
And I just laughed because I was like, huh, how interesting.
Yeah. Smart speed or whatever it calls it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It actually tells you in your statistics how much time you saved on just smart speed, not including the then ability to speed it up to,
Yeah.
It actually goes up to 3 times speed.
That's not even
That's
real.
not real.
Nobody's
You can't listen to that.
Brain can do that.
When it hits 2 times speed, I'm out. I can do it at about 1/8, but 2 times too much for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to just listen to it in normal time because that's real life.
It is real life.
Occasionally I'll listen to it fast, but no.
Yeah. That's the overachiever.
The only time I've done 3 times speed is when I try to get through our ads. Because if you don't listen to the ads,
we don't get paid.
You don't get paid for it.
Yeah,
But
the pennies.
I'm like, okay, so if I'm going to listen to our podcast, I have to listen to the ads, but I'll go to 3 times speed to get through it.
That's fair.
That counts, right?
Absolutely. I don't think they know the difference in that part.
It's pennies anyways. Like
it really is.
So
pennies. Hey, as I was setting up the room, I came across, getting ready for this episode, I came across 2 different Christmas cards, and it just got my brain whirling on Christmas cards. Okay. So I want to talk about Christmas cards for a minute.
Okay, the ones that people send with their family photos?
Yeah, like a full-on Christmas card you send to people.
Okay.
We don't much do that. But
no, we don't send Christmas cards, period.
No. Yeah, we don't send them, yes.
No, I will occasionally print something out.
Mm-hmm.
And then give it to our close family members.
Yes.
However, every year for the past several years now, I do write a card at Christmas and give it to family members. And so sometimes if it's just a card, I'll put pictures in it.
Yes.
Because then it's like a Christmas card that has photos on it, but it's a Christmas card with my words and like a thought out letter. Yeah. And if you want a photo, here's a photo.
Yeah. So I did not research this, but I remember reading or listening or something about it ages ago. So my facts may be slightly muddled. But Christmas cards, they started when people were spread out. Family members, friends live far apart. And you literally, think of your family lives on the East Coast, but you traveled to go live on the little prairie and build a house. And so you're literally never seeing those family members again, but you do want them to know you're alive and what's going on in your life. So what do? Well, once or twice a year, you write a really long update letter, basically.
Right.
Like you're just updating them on the things that are going on in your life. You might celebrate really huge things like birth, but you may also talk about the fact that, Mary is being quite contrary on Little House of the Prairie, always.
Oh, my.
All those rhymes just were very nice to my soul. Anyway, but yeah, you'd write a card. But as photography became a thing and then became affordable and then became something you literally just print or shoot online, there are less and less words to the point to where now most Christmas cards literally say Merry Christmas from the blank and might have a verse of scripture or 2
right.
And then it's 3 to 8 photos on it,
right?
And it's just different, and I think it says something.
Sure. People, I've even done an online Christmas card where literally it's on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. Yep.
And it looks like a Christmas card, but it's online.
Just a social post. Yeah.
It's an e-card or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a social post. Yeah. So it's not even email to anybody.
Yeah.
But people, you can they have these services now that you can, and you can do this for you're a
birthday invites, all the things.
Birthday invites, or like you need to write thank you letters for
whatever.
Whatever, weddings,
Yeah.
showers, all that kind of stuff. But that the services where you can put in your address, and so then the person sending the cards has a list of addresses that they're pulling from with the names and all that on there. So anyways, what I'm getting to is that people on Facebook will say, hey, if you want our Christmas card, send me a DM and I'll send you a link to send me your address. And so like it's almost like, because when you buy cards, you're gonna buy like 50 at a time, I guess.
Right.
So I guess it's like, we're gonna have 50 cards. If you want one of our cards, like, we'll send it to you. Yeah. Which is kind of silly, but I love getting people's Christmas cards.
Sure, absolutely. You put them up and they hang on a wall in our house
we've
for
gotten less
a couple
and
of
less,
months.
But
I don't know
I'm like
what
waiting.
that says about us.
I know, I'm like waiting, but it's probably, I don't know.
We don't send people, so they stop sending us theirs.
To us, I don't know.
It would totally make sense.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too expensive, in my opinion. Like, we don't have like.
Mail's expensive.
Yeah, it's just very expensive to send all of that, and I'm like, I got Christmas presents to buy.
Right.
Y'all can look at my pictures online.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just feels like it's more of one more thing that has become an obligation.
Yeah.
To do, which some people, they may find joy in it and
I think
love
it's a form,
putting it together.
Just like we like putting pictures on Facebook to show off our family. Like, it's the same thing. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right. No, absolutely. I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with it. Not trying to cast any shame, judgment, any of that. But it's just like it transitioned from this handwritten, thoughtful, long, typically, card to... here's some photos that you can see of our family, which, a picture is worth 1,000 words, blah, blah, blah. I think that's less true now that you can take 1,000 pictures in a day. I'm not sure pictures are worth as many words as they used to be.
Yeah. Is it still a special?
Oh, I don't think it is.
Yeah. I mean, I still enjoy getting them. I
probably saw half those photos on your social post if I saw it online.
Some of them, yeah. Probably.
Yeah. So, just thoughts I was having as I was routinely setting up this table and the mics and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Christmas cards. So I love Christmas cards. So if you want to send us one, whether it's after Christmas or not,
and you need
or
our
next
address,
year, and you need our address, just
DM us or text us or whatever. And
unless you're a weirdo or a creep,
You're welcome to DM us. We may not respond to it.
Yeah. But I do. Yeah. I do like Christmas cards. Receiving them. Yeah.
There you go. Send all your Christmas cards to bowlsoflife .com. Sorry,
what?
I said that wrong. Sorry, bowlsoflife@gmail.com. There we go. I was trying to say the website and the email at the same time, I guess, and my brain got fuddled. Yes, befuddled.
Yeah.
Fuddled? Is fuddled a word?
I don't know. You've said 2 words now that I'm like, I don't know.
Befuddled is a word.
Befuddled is a word, yes.
What was the other word?
Befuddled. It may have been muddied.
Muddied. Oh, yeah, you muddy things
I think
up.
you used it.
Yeah.
Oddly, though. And everybody listening is going, oh, yeah, I heard that.
Did they? Are they?
Anyways,
who knows? I say lots of words.
Carry on.
Hey, this is a part 2 episode.
It is.
Because you had
Next
some
week is Christmas.
Trendy, of recording time, of listening time. This is actually post Christmas.
Oh, this comes after Christmas.
This will drop on the 29th or 30th. The 30th is a Monday.
So this will get us ahead.
Yes. Depends on when we record around Christmas stuff.
Right.
It will keep us on track.
I'm sorry, I got you off. What were you saying?
You wanted to talk about trendy nutrition things. That's what I was saying. So this is part 2. We talked through 5 of them on the previous episode. And so we got 5 more to cover on this one. But before we jump into all that, let's do a quick ad break so that you don't have to have an ad break in the middle of all our trendy trends. All right, so trendy trends.
So just recap. I talked about 5 last week.
You did?
Last episode. And, it's the end of the year.
Yes.
So New Year is coming. And so when this episode comes out, it'll be New Year in just a few days. But I guess my thought here is just there's a lot of trendy wellness things out there. Nutrition, wellness, health.
I remember when people were basically wrapping their bellies in cellophane. And that was an interesting one.
That is still an interesting one.
Is that still a thing? it wasn't cellophane, but let's all be honest, it just was plastic wrap that you can get out of a container.
I mean, I don't see people doing it anymore, but I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, there's still some people out there doing it, but it's clearly did not provide the results. What would be interesting
is to talk through, like, the
no longer trendy
fad diets I've gone through the years. One I actually saw, it's the cabbage diet. We just eat cabbage for, like, 7 days or several days, and I was just scrolling through Instagram, and there was a girl who was like,
cabbage isn't even that tasty. That's a miserable 7 days.
Depending on how you make it. Hers looked like a good cabbage
did have good cabbage the other day at a meal I was at, but it was also mixed in with meat and stuff.
Your poots would be stinky.
Yeah, well.
But anyways, as they already are, but like, like just for everybody. But anyways, but yeah, it came up on Instagram. This girl was like, look what happened to me after 7 days of eating cabbage. And it was a drastic difference, but I was like, really?
I'd like to
see you. We're still doing this?
Okay, now show me 7 days after you started eating other foods again.
Right.
I would also like to see that photo, please. Yes, you only ate a plant that is
I didn't stick around too long on water. That, but I did want to see to the end of the video. Like, what is this? I thought it was a parody. Like, this is a joke. Like, it turns out it was. It's going to be like her, like, killed over, like, with gas pains or whatever, because she ate cabbage for 7 days straight.
But that's not what happened.
Nope, it was not a joke.
Hey, we're drinking tea.
Yes.
That's a really big thing. I think it's less of a thing than it was. It's dying down,
but it's
still definitely thriving. Some. Yeah, there's at least 2 tea shops I pass on my way to work. We're drinking
herbal tea.
Correct.
And black tea. You're not drinking
No, I got an herbal tea right now. Yeah, okay. It's nighttime.
But you're referring to the tea shops.
Yes.
The nutrition shops.
Yes, they do say that in the title.
I have a beef with, I'm going to say it,
I want all the smoke. Come here. Bring it here.
Herbalife. Okay? To call your shops a nutrition shop is so misleading.
Yes.
So misleading. And it makes me mad.
Hit me with it,
frankly, because that is not nutrition.
What makes it not nutrition?
Nutrition comes from the food that we eat. The vitamins and the minerals and the carbohydrates and the proteins and the fat. Just because you isolate those things and you put them in a colorful, flavorful drink.
Sugar filled.
Or not sugar, because they're supposed to be like sugar free, healthy, whatever.
Splenda filled or whatever.
But okay, I'm gonna get to that. Just hang on to that. But like, call it your Captain America tea for $10 and call it nutrition? Like, that's not nutrition. Like, no. Like, I get that you took some you isolated some vitamins and minerals and nutrients. But just because you put them in a drink does not warrant the name nutrition. So I'm going to stop there and just say this is going to be the only one that I have a fairly strong opinion on.
Okay.
I play the game of like, I like to be, pretty central, yeah.
Yes.
But this one I just have a hard time with, and here's why. I've never really been a fan. It's kind of, and I know, like, we even know people who like have run these shops, and so I'm not trying to be at all like rude here. But the company behind these nutrition shops, which again, it's one of those shops, or one of those businesses that works like an MLM. I believe that's how it works. But I'm not worried about MLM. That doesn't bother me. The thing that bothers me is the fact that you cannot get a list of the ingredients. Now, unless that's changed, please correct me if I am wrong. But you can't get a list of ingredients. You can't ask them. If you ask them, because I had a dietitian friend who walked into a shop when they were becoming more popular a couple of years ago. And she said, hey, can you show me a list? Can you tell me what's in this drink so I can be sure, I know what I'm drinking? And they
refused.
Yeah, like they would not give her anything. And they just like dismissed her. And she ended up still buying one because she felt bad. She was in the shop, whatever. She bought it. But like, not even the shop owners have it. I'm pretty sure. Like, not because here's the thing. It's a supplement.
Right.
So it's not regulated. They don't have to do anything.
Mm.
And I'm not saying they're out there putting bad things in their drinks or their whatever supplements, but it's taught. It's like touted as safe for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't assure that it is safe for me because I can't see the list. And I've had many people ask me as a dietitian, what do I think about these things, or do I recommend them, or I'm okay? Like, is it okay, basically? And I have to say, I can't answer that because I don't actually know.
Yeah. No,
I don't actually know. And so that's the only thing that's like got me. But here's bottom line. Like, you want to have one every now and then. You think it tastes good. You think it gives you a boost. Fine. They say they have the teas, which I don't know why they call it tea. There's probably, I guess, some black or green tea in it.
Some of them, probably not all of them. Yeah. For sure.
And then you have shakes. They have shakes as well. Okay, so I don't know what they cost now, but they're always around like $8. So $8 to $10 you're spending, maybe even up to $12 for a drink.
You know how much Taco Bell I could have for that?
Exactly. You know how much nutrition from Taco Bell you can get?
Hey, they got the Powerball, man. Don't knock the Powerball.
I'm being legit.
I know.
I'm not joking there. Like, that's going to be, I mean, don't get me wrong. You're getting chock full.
There's all kinds of other stuff.
You're chock full of like vitamins and minerals with these drinks, but it's also chock full of caffeine. That's what gives you so much energy. Energy being
also makes you feel full.
False energy. I don't know. Maybe it makes you feel full, but like the amount that seems to be in there, which again you don't know. Lots of vitamin B's, which also are vitamins that help with energy. You pee out what you don't need, so you have expensive pee now. You just paid $8 for a drink that overloaded you on the vitamin B's, which is a water soluble vitamin. So you pee it out, which again, like that happens when you take a multivitamin or a hair, skin, and nail vitamin. You're going to pee a lot of that out, but at least maybe you got some of it. But anyways, like, it's not nutrition. It's just a stimulant. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a drink that tastes good. I think I had a sip of one time, and it was too chemically tasting for me because it has all of these like flavors and like the colors. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about food dyes. I can't imagine what they color them with.
Red dye 40,
right? And they make it taste good, but then it's sugar free, calorie free, blah blah blah. Well, what do they do? I'd rather have all the sugar. I'd rather have the sugar. I mean, because that's at least like a more natural substance.
Yeah. Depending on what sugars you use, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, I honestly cannot say that it's not harming you.
Yeah.
I honestly cannot say that. And there have been stories of liver issues with people.
Oh, I believe it.
So as soon as they stopped drinking them, their liver was
starts
fine.
to heal.
So the thing is, like, I can't even tell you if it's safe or not because I do not know. So yeah, this is like the one thing I'm going to be more opinionated on. And again, I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers or offend anybody. But just trying to.
No, you wanted the smoke. You came here for the smoke.
Well,
on this one.
that one I almost left it off because I don't like it. People.
Right.
I don't want to offend anybody, but I just want people to understand, like, what they're doing.
Sure.
And not be fooled. But again, like, this is one of the things, you get it every now and then, whatever. Well, I mean, I still wouldn't, but like, whatever.
Sure.
Like, but, you know.
Every now and then it's probably not any worse for you than a couple of Mountain Dews are.
I don't know. But I know it's in Mountain Dew.
That's true. That is accurate. Okay.
Have you heard the story about
probably tell me
the
anyway.
Mountain Dew? So there's this guy who said he found a rat in his Mountain Dew can. And so he sued Mountain Dew. Well, the way that Mountain Dew won, or Pepsi Co. won,
they proved that it would have dissolved there.
It would have completely dissolved a mouse if it were inside the can.
Yeah.
Which it's acid. It's an acidic drink.
I was going to say, I think that's true of most soft drinks. It's not just that specific one.
But it's just funny to think about.
They were like, hey guys, how are we going to prove there wasn't a rat in there? I don't know. Dip one in there for a week and see what happens.
Yeah, and it was like within a certain time period it would be
and the amount of time between bottle to being in a store, like there's a decent lag time in there. So
the warehouse, all that, but that was funny.
Yep.
But
I do remember that. I'm pretty sure you sent it to me to tell me to stop drinking Mountain Dew, and I told you I don't care. That feels right.
I don't.
You didn't actually say.
I've never told you not to.
You didn't say that. It was your subtle jab.
But anyways, I just thought it was an interesting story. But anyways, yeah, that's it on that. Just don't be fooled by anything, and don't ever let something be so like you have to have it that you can't stop. Mm-hmm. Like that's with anything. Yeah, there should be no substance, legal or illegal, that you can't stop that you're partaking in. Short of a medication, that's life. Oh yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about. But saying the words. Saying the words. In case somebody wants to come at me, that's fine. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. The next one is one that I still want to have a different conversation on in the future. I know. Intermittent fasting. Yeah, and I put it on here. It's kind of like the ketogenic diet. Like, it's still a thing, but it's so mainstream now, I think, that it's not like, ooh. Trendy isn't quite the right word. Yeah. But I mentioned this a good bit in the breakfast episode, so I'm not going to try to repeat myself too much. But essentially, intermittent fasting is all about not eating for a period of time. So that means fasting. And that may be a 12-hour period that you don't eat, or a 24-hour period. So it could be a 12-hour period daily, like every day for 12 hours you have that fast, or a 24-hour period like once a week. Some people do it like different ways. That's why it's called intermittent fasting. Mm-hmm. It's not technically meant to be done every day. That's why it's called intermittent fasting. As far as like the big fasts, the long ones, like especially 24 hours, obviously not meant to be done every day. And this has nothing to do with your spiritual practices. So sometimes people like to combine those, and we can have that conversation for another day. Like we said, that might be a fun combo. But intermittent fasting research, for the most part, I mean, I haven't literally gone through every single research article, but it's mostly been done on men. So when somebody comes to you and says, well, this research article shows like how effective the intermittent fasting diet is, then it doesn't necessarily apply to all people. So that's the thing about research. You make it say what you want it to say, always. But it's very general, or it's not general, because you can't generalize it because it's done on one type of population. It has to be massive, for it to cover all. Any thoughts or knowledge of why it's primarily done on men and not women? That's the gender gap. Oh, go. Oh, well, just in general, like our medical, everything like is more geared towards men in our society. But that's not a conversation for today. Okay. But other than that, I don't really know, but I think there's that gender gap. But I think there's more variables with women, which is also why intermittent fasting is not as effective or even safe or good for women to do. As a researcher, I would prefer men because there's less hormonal variances that I've got to compensate for when I'm writing up the results of this research. Okay. Yeah. There we go. I was trying to think of like why a scientific reason why I as a researcher would potentially not want to lean into doing a whole study on women. Is because like you said, there's so many variables. Okay. Again, I'm trying not to go here, but just in 2024, period products have never been tested with human blood. Until 2024. I think one company or something tested it. The other thing about period products is that that a lot of them contain a lot of things inside the ingredients that you don't want inside your body. But they've never been tested until recently. Why am I telling you this? Gender gap things. Gender gap, yeah. So it's like we literally have all these things that we are giving women, that we are providing for women, selling to women, that are not safe for women, because maybe a man came up with it, or a man I'm not saying that for real, but like possibly but I'm not here for that, because that's not the conversation of today, but I think it's something to think about. So anyways, sorry, you say things, I'm going to ask questions about them as they come to me. Keep going. Intermittent fasting. So the research doesn't apply to all people. So for one thing, I think, and I see this even in men, intermittent fasting leads to binge eating at the end of the day. obsessive thinking about food because you've fasted
Yeah.
for a long time.
I can say as someone who's done fast for spiritual purposes,
Yeah.
I have to be very mindful when the end of that
When the
period
end
comes to not just like gorge myself.
Right.
So
But
yeah,
see,
sure.
Let's say, but so they might be eating a lot at the end of the day or within their 12-hour period that they are eating.
Yep.
They are just, it's free for all.
Get my calories in.
But they got to get their calories in. Yeah. And so, also like, I think sometimes it's just an excuse to not worry about breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we talked about breakfast already, but just like the whole idea, like, I'm intermittent fasting. But then I have problems stopping eating in the evening. And then I have to go, okay, there's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your sign. But anyways, so nowadays, like I think I said this before, but they're actually, even men and women, but especially women, they're no longer saying intermittent fasting is like a good deal for women because of the way our hormones work. And I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but I talked about cortisol and all of that in the breakfast episode. So it has to do with like the cortisol levels and all of that. So, and then of course our womanly hormones. But they're now kind of seeming to say, instead of skipping breakfast, so break your fast in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and eat lighter or skip the supper meal, end of the day meal.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not promoting this. That's just kind of what they're saying.
I could see it. I mean, you're eating to start the day. You're eating somewhere mid-ish day
And
to
then
continue the day.
And then still having something.
Yeah.
Because like the person that I trust that talks about this, she'll do it every now and then, but she'll cut off eating like late afternoon or early evening.
Yeah.
So she still has like a third meal.
Yeah, talking like 4 or 5, something like that.
At the latest. Or even maybe
3.
3. I'm trying to think exactly, but
Sure.
but then what that just does is gives her more time before she goes to sleep.
Yeah.
And then as she sleeps, but then she wakes up and she breaks her fast. And so, so that's actually kind of what they're recommending now. So this is kind of what I say, like, if you're going to do it, like, do it right or do it, do it well.
Yeah.
But here's one thing I always like to say too, is like, we technically already fast appropriately for our bodies. Okay. Now, if we're following a fairly consistent, healthy, quote unquote, healthy, whatever, that means, meal pattern. So what I mean by that is the last meal that you eat in the evening. Again, this is like a normal day. This is not like a night shift worker kind of schedule, right?
Yeah.
So the last meal that you eat typically ends in the 6 p.m. area or 7 p.m. area, depending on how late your meal is. Now, I know lots of people have lots of kids events and extracurriculars, and their dinners may be happening a little bit later. But from the time that you stop eating to when you go to bed and you sleep to when you wake up in the morning, you have breakfast, it's almost 12 hours. Mm-hmm. Now, not quite, because we're eating a little bit later or we're having to wake up early. But if you think about it, like if you're not like munching up until you go to bed, then you're giving your body that time to fast and rest and restore and utilize nutrients and do all that kind of stuff, digest and all that kind of stuff. And then you have, I call them mini fasts, M-I-N-I, mini fast, miniature, between our meal times.
Right.
So it might be meal, snack, meal, or it might be meal, snack, meal, whatever your day looks like.
Yeah.
But in between the times that you eat, those are miniature fasts. You need to let your body not eat during those times so that it can digest, absorb nutrients, utilize, and metabolize that energy. But if we're just like grazing and munching and snacking and eating little pieces of candy and that sort of thing, then we're not helping that system out. So if you're eating a fairly, again, healthy, consistent meal pattern, then you're already kind of doing what you need to do that would, mimic what they say intermittent fasting is supposed to do. So obviously everybody's day looks a little bit different. So that may not always be true, but
right.
Yeah. So you might just think about like, are you eating right up until you go to sleep, or are you like snacking on something in between your meals, like constantly? Not a designated snack, you know, in between a meal to get you between the long time that's between your meals, but like I'm talking like munching throughout the day or grazing. Those are the things that keeps our blood sugar from regulating normally, and our body metabolizing well. So you don't have to intermittent fast to get those like effects.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So that's my take on that.
Okay.
I feel like this one's going to go a lot quicker than the last one, just because these are a little bit more straightforward.
Fair enough. Reducing inflammation.
That's the next one.
I hear you talk about that pretty often.
Okay. So we're talking about trends here, right?
Yeah.
So reducing inflammation, anti-inflammatory is the buzz, I think, right now. And some of that goes back to like the gut stuff we talked about earlier in the last episode. That can be kind of related. But reducing inflammation or an anti-inflammatory diet, it's because we have so much chronic disease. And we have a lot of autoimmune disorders and inflammatory kind of disorders and gut issues that we're looking into anti-inflammatory diets and eating and reducing inflammation. So when you have increased inflammation just means something is inflamed, something is wrong, your body is trying to tell you something. So think about this, like when you get you fall down, scrape your knee, like our daughter did scootering today. She immediately, like, it bleeds, it gets all red, it might get a little puffy, like that's inflammation. Okay, all the white blood cells and all that are going to heal the area and do all the kinds of things. That's like an acute sense of inflammation. So imagine, and it is painful. Okay, inflammation also equals pain most of the time. But if you can imagine chronic inflammation on that scale, but like not on that scale, but that reaction on a different scale, like on a different, maybe even larger scale. Is your heart inflamed? Is your gut inflamed? Or is your skin inflamed? Your joints, so on and so forth. Just naming off random things. So chronic inflammation typically is going to result in pain, swelling, whatever. So when you have inflammation, it's a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something's going on.
Makes sense.
But continued inflammation causes more issues.
Yep.
Because your body is on this constant, like, trying to fix it.
Yeah.
And if you don't get to the root of what's the issue, then you're just going to be constantly inflamed. So, yes, reducing inflammation can actually improve your health. The problem is, like, we sometimes fix inflammation with a drug or pharmaceutical, and that doesn't actually get to the root issue. It just band-aids it. Okay. And I'm not anti-medicine, so nobody walk away hearing that. But let's say, for instance, you have a joint issue. Your joints ache. Can't really pinpoint why. It's not arthritis, but it's just this weird achiness. And you also have some gut issues. That's inflammation in your gut, inflammation in your joints. You get a medication or you take NSAIDs, or you take some sort of medication that reduces that inflammation, resolves the pain. But what might actually be causing the inflammation is a food that you have an autoimmune response to, or an immune response to.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not that you're allergic, but your body, for some reason, which there's still probably a root there, but like for some reason this food bothers your body and it makes your joints hurt, makes your gut have issues. Okay. So we could figure out maybe what's causing that in your diet, or it could be smoking, lung inflammation, other parts of your body that causes heart. That touches a lot of things.
Sure. Yeah.
It could be environmental stuff. It could be the the perfumes and the fragrances and the cleaners that we use that are all around us that are kind of inflaming your allergies or your airway system. And so you have allergies, and then it's like, okay, that's inflammation. So reducing inflammation is a trendy thing because we're realizing that there's a lot of things that are inflaming us. And if we don't take care of it, we're going to just continue to be sick. So it's about getting to the root cause of your inflammation, which is a rabbit trail that can really stress you out.
Sure.
And then stress causes inflammation. Right?
Stress causes everything.
Yeah, stress is just, yeah. So I say this to say, like, don't get too caught up in the root cause of things if it's really that hard to figure out. Mm-hmm. Take care of yourself and do what you need to do to reduce the pain that you're dealing with or the inflammation that you're dealing with. But if it's something that, like, you can do that will help reduce the inflammation, whether it's what you eat or it's the way that you move, if it's getting a better, like, ergonomic, like, chair to sit at your desk to reduce the inflammation that's in your back, your lower back, then, like, do those things so that you don't have to take a medication or get a surgery later down the road. That's some of the problems with, like, arthritis, for example. We've talked about this before, is the lack of stretching and exercise. It's like my knees hurt because, I'm not stretching my hamstrings. Yeah. So, just to use that as an example.
Well, now you have to deal with long-term neck surgeries that we're going to start seeing more and more of. It's actually already a documented thing. Phones? Yeah, because you look down so much at your phone.
Yeah.
The issue in the late 90s, early 2000s you'd always hear about is getting your wrist at a proper position for typing on your keyboard, which is still a thing if you're an office worker, but because much of our screen usage has now transferred to our thumbs, I think that's also a documented thing.
There's an issue with our hands too.
Yeah, like the just the way you're holding it.
Holding the phone.
Yeah, all of those issues.
Yeah, so anyways, reducing inflammation might be a little trendy, but you more than likely, if you have inflammation, it's probably a good idea to figure out, And so again, I just want to say, it's not just painful joints. It's gut issues, allergies, acid reflux, hives, skin issues, recurring infections, so much more.
Okay, so let's take joints, those kind of things that are probably more physically caused, and let's talk towards gut and those kinds of things. Like, just, I've got an issue, I don't know where to start. Where's just a couple of easy entry points of things to try just to see what might help?
Okay,
and I know there's a lot of different things, so
before you try anything, I think it's very important that you stop and you take a look at your day-to-day.
Okay.
You have to be aware of your own habits before you can do something, change something that's going to help you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
By all means, you probably heard somebody on Instagram talk about this or that, and you say, you know what, I'm going to try that. And you try it, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. More than likely, it's not going to, because it was random.
Their thing, not your thing.
Yeah. But it might help, But I would say if you're dealing with chronic pain, like, there's diagnoses like fibromyalgia that are starting to be diagnosed more often because it's like we don't know what's causing you pain. But
isn't that one of those that we just gave a name to?
Yes.
It arguably doesn't even have a good definition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody recently was telling me about their diagnosis of fibromyalgia, but they were like, I don't, like, that's just what they gave.
They just called it that to call it something. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was asking me about, I remember who it was, and she was asking me about anti-inflammatory and diets and nutrition and all that kind of stuff for it. And she's just in chronic pain. But anyways, so what would you do? I would say pause. And, like, first of all, like, you got to think about what part of your body it is to maybe focus your thoughts. But, like, if it's your gut, then I would definitely start with diet. So, meaning not changing anything necessarily, but you need to take a look at it.
Okay.
And then you likely need to seek out help. If you're not one that can do your own research and figure it out, then you need to seek out help from someone who knows that kind of stuff. If it's like, I don't know, like if it's like skin stuff or, sometimes you can get medical tests done to figure out, like, is it an allergy or an immune response? We're still lacking in that area of, like, if it's either, it's like we still kind of think it's either an allergy or it's not. There's no in between, but there is an in between. So we have immune responses in our body for some reason.
Yeah.
But it may not be a full blown like anaphylactic allergy.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's sometimes hard to pinpoint through like medical tests and things, but find something. It might even have to be an over the counter thing.
Yeah.
That you do a test with. It just, you want to make sure it is like a credible thing, but sometimes you got to throw your noodles at the wall just to see if it sticks. So
which is how you know spaghetti is ready. And you taught me that relatively recently. Oh, yeah? And yet again, it's one of those things. It's like
throwing it at the microwave door.
That's why that's a saying. That's what it's a saying.
Yeah.
Gosh, the number of sayings out there that I don't know why they exist and I realize they do baffles me. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and even like joint stuff. Like you can look at habits of like what you're doing throughout the day, how long you're sitting, what type of chair you're sitting in, what type of shoes you're wearing. Like I'm just the type of person personally, if I have something wrong with me, I'm going to figure it out before I go to a doctor.
Yep.
And because I'm not going to trust that a doctor is going to be able to figure it all out for me because they don't know my life. They just know what they see in a
lab result.
Yeah, a lab result or like physically what they're looking at in the office. And so to me, I'm like, okay, I know that my hip's been hurting. Like let's say when I was pregnant with Stella, it was like my hip's hurting. I know that it hurts. When I do this or that, I can tell that if this makes it feel better, this makes it feel worse. It's like, I'm going to go find some exercises that help make it feel better, that help make that pain go away. And like, it's like, oh yeah, like an exercise actually strengthens my hip, which makes the pain go away. Whereas if I just, just ignore it and don't like try to do anything about it, then it's just going to get worse. Or go to a doctor and it's like, okay, well, here's some pain medicine, or which they're, if they're doing right, they're like telling you to do the exercises and the physical therapies and all that kind of stuff first. But, it's just, you want to look at your habits, your day to day, anything that could be a factor. Like pause and take a look. To me, that's the first step. Then you can kind of say, okay, I need to step down this avenue. If it's, I could probably use some physical therapy or a chiropractor visit. Or, it's a diet thing. I can tell that every time I eat this or that. Or it's, I can't figure out what it is that's causing me these gut issues. I'm probably going to need a dietitian and a doctor to do a test on me. So before you can really change anything, you have to like take a look at what you're doing and what your actual problem is. Not that you can figure it all out, right away, but you might have a better understanding. Yeah,
makes sense. Cool. All right, next one. I feel like we're going to get back in some smoky territory with this one. Skinny drops and slender eyes.
I don't know. Okay, I almost didn't bring this one up, but it's
worth talking about.
It's worth talking about. Like it got popular this year for like a quick minute and it kind of died down. But
was that because it wasn't a sustainable thing?
Well, probably, yeah. So it's a homeopathic drop thing. Okay. Like you do these
Tell me
drops.
What homeopathic is.
So,
before you can...
Yeah. So homeopathic is, different from allopathic healthcare. Allopathic is what we are currently is our mainstream of healthcare today, like Western medicine. Okay. Homeopathic is a different way, and homeopathy, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
Was actually the first type of medicine we had.
More apothecary kind of.
Yeah, natural occurring things, but it is a little bit different in that it cures is what homeopathic believes. Or I'm not saying the words exactly right, but anyways,
a homeopath.
Yeah. So, cures like, and that's about all I can kind of say. But essentially, like, if you have an illness, then whatever herbal plant thing that they're going to recommend is going to be something that actually is like your illness, but it's going to help your body fight it versus like stamping out your body's natural immune response to an illness. I don't know how to explain it. I'm a terrible person to explain homeopathy, but
it was an intro conversation.
Yeah.
That was all it needed to be.
We use homeopathic remedies in the house.
Yes.
You know that, right?
Yeah. No, I'm well aware. Sure. Every night I shove my son full of cold Kong because he has an eternal cold.
Oh, he went so long without one, though.
He did.
Yeah. But anyways, we use it for colds, and we have some like pain medicine type stuff, teething type stuff, allergies, and a few other things. So like I'm pro homeopathy. But anyways, this drop. So it's like this drop kind of had this, we're homeopathic, natural based. It was a blend, and you have to it was a blend of homeopathic type medicine and, or you don't call it medicine, but anyways, you would take it, you have to put the drops in like 10 minutes before you eat. And, you do it like 3 times a day or something like that. But, you also got a coach, I think, or like you got like some sort of like sponsored coach type person. And, I had one person kind of tell me like what it all looks like, because they tried it, and their coach or whatever was telling them to eat like 1,200 calories a day. And so this person understood like, well, yeah, obviously if I eat 1,200 calories, like
I'll lose weight.
So
in the recommended like 2,000, and even that is arguably low.
Well, I mean, it's depending on the person.
Sure,
but 1,200 is very low.
Right.
Like very low.
Yeah.
Like it is not recommended to eat only 1,200
for
calories.
an adult. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not enough. So, yeah, I mean, like I'm all for homeopathy as an alternative to conventional medicine, but the marketing kind of made me ick a little bit, like on their website. And they did list out all the homeopathic
ingredients
that they were using. I was familiar with like one, just because I've done very little just research on my own, for my own uses, but like one, and I think it had to do with like gut stuff. So like if you're like nauseous or something, I think was what it was for. So I don't know if it affects your appetite. I don't know. But when they tell you to eat 1,200 calories a day, what's really the magic there?
Fair.
So I just always bring these things up just to like, just remember there's no magic potion out there. Okay. B, like if you're eating 1,200 calories a day, like this is where this is going to backfire. You're not going to be able to sustain that. And here's the thing. There's research to back this statement up, but 95% of diets fail. And when they fail, you typically gain all your weight back plus some. Okay, and here's why. I'm going to explain why.
Yes, please do. I love science moments.
So, everybody has a basal metabolic rate. That is the amount of calories that your body needs at rest. So, basal, baseline. Metabolic, the rate, okay, that your metabolic, is running. Metabolism is running, okay? So that's at rest. That was if you were to lay down all day long. Okay.
What a day.
So if you get up and go to work and talk and act, and move and exercise and walk around and chase children or go to ball games. Goes up. Well, your energy expenditure goes up.
Yes.
So your needs.
Basic.
Yeah.
Yep.
So your needs are higher than your BMR, basal metabolic rate. Okay. So So let's say your total estimated energy needs is 2,000 calories. And that's including like your daily movement and all that. Let's say your basal is 2,000 calories and then your estimated is 2,500. Let's just say 2,500.
Yep.
People might think that's a large number. If you think that's a large number, then you've been eating way too little for your whole life. That's I'm just going to end that there. So 2,500 calories. And of course, this is individual per person, right, your size and all that kind of stuff. Yes, people do need less than that, depending on their needs. But 2,500, and let's say you go on a 1,200 calorie diet, you just slashed your needs in half.
More than.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. You just started feeding your body half of what it needs, but you're still running the same. You didn't change anything in your activity level. And maybe you stopped exercising. There are some diets out there. I didn't bring them up in this podcast. But there are some programs out there that'll tell you to stop exercising.
Because they know
it's so low.
Yeah.
Because the calorie intake is so low. Because they start you out on a 1,200 calorie diet.
Let's go.
Starts with an O and ends with an E. And so you need 2,500, but you're only needing 1,200. Your body now has to figure out how to run on that little calories. Okay, this is what it's going to do. Okay.
Eat itself.
It's going to prioritize what's most important, which means it is no longer thriving, it is surviving. Okay?
And that's where real life happens.
So your systems are going to suffer.
Yes, of course.
And your body is now going to learn it's going to adapt. It's going to learn how to run on half of what your body actually needs, which means your basal metabolic rate is going to come down because the phrase of your metabolism slows.
Keep going. I understand.
You slow down your metabolism. So your BMR comes down because your body had to figure out how to survive on little.
1,200 or whatever.
Okay. Yep. Or any diet that makes you eat way less
yeah.
than what you need.
Yep.
100 calories or so, not a big deal. I'm talking like hundreds of calories. Yeah. Okay. All right, so your BMR came down. Now, you're still about the same size. You might have lost 5 to 10 pounds that first week or so you were doing that because you lost water weight. Remember me talking about the glucose molecules?
Yes.
Glucose molecules go first. Guess what comes second? Protein. That's your muscles. Mm-hmm. Okay? Fat is the last thing you are going to lose because our bodies are made to survive. Okay? Just wanted to point that out. All right. So your BMR comes down. You can't sustain 1,200 calories because you're low energy. You're not feeling good anymore. You still have still have the same size body, running the same level of activity that you were before. So your needs are technically still the same, but your BMR is even lower. Mm-hmm. You come off the diet, whether that's gradual or it's the next day.
Yep.
Your body is in a mode where it thinks it needs less basal metabolic rate, but you're burning 2,500 calories. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Or you're taking in. You mean?
Well, you're burning that much. So when you go back to eat about that much again.
When you go back to it, yes, yeah.
You're going to gain all your weight back.
Plus a little bit before your body
Plus a little bit more because your body thinks it's a smaller body, let's put it that way.
Yep.
Because it's a lower metabolic rate.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it takes it a while before it relearns that, I'm actually getting this amount.
So it rebounds.
Yep. Yeah, and so in the interim before it recognizes what it's getting, what it is, you are burning less. You're still using that lower amount, and so that other bit that you've now started taking in is just sitting out there and building up.
It's storing.
Yeah, storing.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Yep.
Calories in versus calories out isn't always the solution, but people who have dieted their whole life and have lost weight, gained it back plus more.
The yo-yo
lost weight, gained it back plus more. Lost weight, gained it back plus more. If they'd have never dieted in the first place, they would be closer to where they started than they are now. Other than the natural progression of our bodies changing, which FYI, it's actually normal and like more common for the body. Now, again, the individual differences, but like to hang on to weight as we age and as we grow. Now, there are some people who have, different frames, of course.
Sure.
But like different stages of life, especially for women, because ours are so vast from childbearing to non-childbearing years and pregnancy within that. If you have that breastfeeding and all of those things change, but your weight is meant to like help you survive and thrive. And so this is why 95% of diets fail, and then you gain all your weight back plus some. And as you do that yo-yo diet for years on end, you've probably gained more
than where you
began. Yeah. Than you even have lost,
That makes me really sad. not that individuals are doing that to themselves, because that's not
they
what's
wouldn't
happening.
do it. They wouldn't do it that, if they...
And, man, I will give benefit of the doubt of well-intentioned, of in many of, at least the start of these companies or trends or things of that nature, like the well-intended, like trying to help people with their health, whatever, however they would say that. But, like, that is, I assume, fairly known knowledge in the nutrition dietitian world. And it's like the information is there, it's available, but because we didn't jump onto a thing, or it worked really well for me for this past 2-3 months, you should do it too. It's like we haven't actually given things long enough to see long-term results to know, like, is this actually beneficial or not. That makes me sad. It's
yep, you got a glimpse into what I deal with. It's our culture.
That's sad, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. Go to the next one. Balancing hormones.
Balancing hormones. This is number 10. So if you haven't heard this kind of phrase, then I would kind of be surprised, but you probably might not be on social media much if you haven't heard this. But balancing hormones is not just it's probably more, it's geared towards women.
Sure, okay? Absolutely. This diet culture as a whole is.
But men do have some hormonal issues, like with their testosterone and all that kind of stuff. Why are we having so many men with low testosterone? There's a reason for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Similarly to why our women are having hormone problems too. But it's a big trend, and even as a professional, like I'm trying to navigate this trend well. You hear a lot about balancing your hormones in like the medias, and there is a foundation to this, but I think there's also a lot of maybe fraud out there, like touting that you're balancing your hormones by doing this or that or taking this or that, but it's not on an individual basis, and therefore it could be actually not helping you at all, or could even be like messing your hormones up. But women, we have like estrogen, progesterone, we even have a low level of like male hormones, testosterone, and men, you obviously have the testosterone. And so those are the reproductive hormones, but they do a lot for the body, the metabolism, overall. And remember, I talked about this before, but hormones are chemical messengers in our body. And so what that means is they're running around the body, telling the body what to do. Think about neurotransmitters like serotonin and melatonin and dopamine and all of that. Those are the same thing. So they're little messengers that go through the body. And so if they're not balanced, or if they're not in appropriate measures as they ebb and flow, women are more on like a 28 to 32 day cycle hormone. Talking about reproductive hormones, men, it's like a 24-hour cycle. So yours like cycles throughout the day, whereas women cycles throughout a month. And we have these ebbs and flows of hormones. And when those things are off balance, and this is again, like, not even touching on like cortisol hormones and that sort of stuff either, because cortisol, the stress hormone, we want to balance that one as well. Want to make sure we don't have too much of it. But if we have chronic stress, then we're going to have high cortisol. But as we ebb and flow with our hormones, if they're kind of imbalanced, or if you get too much of one, or if you don't have enough of one, for whatever reason, and that's not really what this is about, maybe why that's happening, but it's definitely important to do something about it so that your health is, better off, whatever. So if you're doing it right, you're supporting your hormones, to help them do the things that they're supposed to do, then your body's definitely going to work better. If they're out of whack, the hormones are out of whack, there's going to be evidence. So, you have to find the right provider, to test those hormones, and depending on the time of the day or the time of the month, like what the hormones are going to look like. You just want to make sure that you're like, if you think you have an issue, like you're actually getting information from credentialed professionals and not just like wellness coaches on Instagram, or Facebook. So this is kind of a trendy thing, but like I said, there is some evidence here. Like there's a reason why our men are having low testosterone, our women are dealing with estrogen dominance or PCOS or that sort of thing. And I think there's a lot to that, which again, I don't plan on going into that much here. But I think it has a lot to do with what we eat, what we put on our body, in our body, and around our body, and the stress that we deal with. So that's where I'm going to leave that.
Fair enough. Okay.
But yeah, balancing hormones is a trend. It's a trendy thing, but that doesn't mean it's not like something that could be actually happening for somebody. It's probably more common now than ever.
All right. Signs that my health things may be related to an imbalance of hormones. Because, like, who just knows my estrogen's off? Like, so whatever. Yeah.
I'll start with men. Not as into the information on men, but like a lot of men have trouble with like their energy levels, their ability to exercise the way they want to, just feeling low libido, low energy, that sort of thing. Women, similar things, but it's going to be more tied to like your time of your cycle. If you're paying attention to that. If you're not paying attention to that, then you probably don't understand.
Yeah.
But like if you have a lot of estrogen in your body, like your body's not filtering it out like it's supposed to, there's a lot of different signs there. But I'll just kind of leave it at this. Like it'll be menstrual cycle problems. It could be even like things that are happening around your period, as far as like pain, cramping, all that kind of stuff. And also like that can be related to the gut. Go figure. So you might even notice some gut issues, but more often than not, it's going to be related to like the cycle. But there are other signs. It could be for some signs from your skin to your hair. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but yeah. So you'll notice some things. But I would especially say like pay attention to your cycle, because then you'll kind of see where it ebbs and flows and where it shows up and why that might be.
Okay. Any natural, easy food lifestyle recommendations of ways to start bringing some of those things back into balance, or is that just
highly individual?
Yeah,
so because if you have estrogen dominance, it would be this. This will kind of be one thing you would do, and then if you have like not enough estrogen, then this would be another thing that you would do, and then of course men's different with testosterone. Sure. But I'll say just generally across the board, a nutritious diet, or diet, when I say diet, I mean the way that you eat.
Yeah.
So the nutritious way of eating, well balanced, well rounded, is obviously going to give you the nutrition you need so that your body gets what it needs to have those hormones in the right levels. Lowering your stress or managing your stress. Exercise is always really helpful for the hormones. And then I'll just say this, like, think about, again, what you're putting in and on and around your body. So I'm a very natural person over here, like with my natural cleaners and don't really use fragrances and that sort of thing. But that's because those things in our environment mimic estrogen. They're called like xenoestrogens or phytoestrogens. And so when we're putting all these fake estrogens on our body or in our body, or we're cleaning with them, then it's tricking our body into thinking we have lots of estrogen. And so then our body reacts to that, and then it compensates for that. So just know that like the things that we use matter. And I promise you that just because it's on the shelf doesn't mean, like at the shelf at a store, doesn't mean that it's not affecting your body.
Sure.
So you got to look out for you.
I like it. Okay. I think that's all of my questions on hormones, just because I know, like you said, there's so individual and there's so much about it. And this is
things that people don't want to hear me talk about.
Yeah. Well, debatable.
Yeah.
Debatable.
I'm not a hormone dietitian, so.
Maybe that's your next niche. Just kidding. Anyway, so 10 trends across 2 episodes. Anything you're seeing that you wouldn't necessarily have said you've seen enough of it to go, hey, that is a new trendy thing, but you've seen one or two instances and you thought, oh, I bet that's going to catch on? Has anything like that shown up in your feed? Or in your dietitian work?
Gracious. It's not trendy yet, but like it might
become
a trend.
Or something that, I mean, whether that's positive or to the negative, that it becomes something. It's okay if your answer is, I don't have anything offhand.
I don't think I have anything, but I will say, like, I think the gut stuff, the hydration stuff, the magnesium, and even the balancing hormones, I think those things, and reducing inflammation, that was the other one. I think those things are going to make a difference if we do them well.
Okay.
Like if we do the research that we need to do, which is questionable if that's going to happen, but like if we do that well, that will change our health, I believe. And the thing about nutrition and wellness and medicine and health and all that, like the research, the science is it's ever changing.
Sure.
But there are some things that I think are pretty concrete. I think you got to think about where the research is coming from and what it's telling you and who's sponsoring it and that sort of thing. And we learned that in school. It was like, look at the people who are sponsoring this research article.
Yeah.
And if that has any conflict of interest, But overall, I would say I think we're going to learn a lot more about these topics that those 5 I just mentioned. And I think it's going to make a big difference for us. I think the other things that, I don't know if I can say like not a trend, but it probably is a trend, but maybe not like quite mainstream yet. We talked about the Kellogg stuff. Mm-hmm. With the change in our party or what do we call it? Our president.
Yeah.
What do we call it? Just the political party in general and some changes that are coming there. I think that could potentially bring to light some of our food regulation stuff. I don't know if it's going to be for the good or the bad. I can't tell yet.
But it seems like things will change or at least be conversated about.
Right. It's going to be maybe out in the open a little bit more. And I just want to encourage people, don't write it off. Like I said, look out for yourself, do your own research to figure out what's right for your family and for you.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like I definitely see that going to be something that's going to be the next 4 years, like a part of our next 4 years.
Okay.
For sure.
Cool. You heard it here first, prophetically from Virginia.
Oh gosh, no.
So in 4 years, when they didn't talk about it at all, feel free to call us and with angry voicemails or whatever.
Oh, please
don't actually do that. We don't have our voicemail set up because no one wants to.
Yeah, and I'm happy to answer questions, or if you have a beef with anything I said, like, I will have nice conversations with people. I will not have heated conversations. I will shut that down and say, no, thank you, goodbye. But if you want to talk, I'm glad to talk.
There you go. Cool.
Or be my client.
Be Virginia's client.
Come be my client.
Be our guest. Be our guest. Hey, I sung on the podcast. Didn't mean to do that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. As you're listening to this, if you're listening to it right around the time it drops, it's either just the end of 2024 or maybe you're listening to it right as 2025, the future, is here. Yeah. Such a weird thing. Talk about 20s. Believe. Yes. Yeah. Here we are halfway through the 20s, or beginning to be at the halfway point of the 20s.
I was just going to say, I can't believe we're going to 2025. I feel like I was just pregnant with Stella.
Well, that too. Yeah.
So anyways.
Anyway.
Here comes 2025.
Here comes 2025. So as you kick off your new year, maybe the thing you could do to better plug into our community and make sure you're never missing moments, because hopefully there's more than just the podcast coming down the road here pretty quick, is go ahead and join our email list so that you can always have a heads up of what's happening. The link for that should be in the show notes here on the podcast, or you can just go to bowlsoflife.com and it's down at the bottom of every single page. Hop in there. We don't blow up your inbox, at least not yet. We'll get there. I'm just kidding.
One day.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, hop on the email list and it'll help you stay in the know of things that are going on in the Bowls of Life world. Thanks for joining us on this journey of messy adventures in faith, family, and food. See you in 2025.